Hello and welcome to the Right Click Save podcast. I am your host, Calcio, joined as always by my fellow host, Jimmy T. On today's episode, we're joined by the fantastic AshleyDCan to chat all things NFTs, titties, charity work, being a woman in the space, and so much more. It was an incredible episode to record. I just really enjoyed getting a completely different perspective, to be honest.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see the other side of an NFT project that's really focused on charitable endeavours and the kind of reaction that she got both from the Web2 space and the reaction that she didn't expect from the Web3 space as well. So yeah, really interesting interview.
Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the Right Click Save podcast, and of course leave a lovely comment about how fantastic our episodes are. Just before we do jump into the video as well, here's a quick word from our sponsor, Monuverse. Monuverse is an art-based project that uses the power of NFTs to hone in on culture and bring it to the forefront. Their aim is to connect communities from across the globe via the most iconic monuments and champion artists and the legacy they create. Monuverse gives holders a unique experience in which they can travel back in time to see what man's greatest creations looked like upon conception via an immersive and educational experience that displays history, art and culture with guided tours via their AI-powered guides. The first drop successfully launched on the 11th of November and featured the stunning Archer piece in Milan, Italy. Following episodes will continue to expand the Monuverse and allow holders access to in-real-life events and further growing out the understanding of the incredible world we live in. Links to find out more will be provided in the description below. So, Ashley, I wanted to jump straight in to one of the probably most well-known thing that you have in the NFT space, apart from the titties, obviously, they're great. But the charity work you've done is amazing and has helped so many different people. And I wanted to kind of just get to the crux of that, how you actually came to wanting to be so represented in the charity space within Web3.
Well, it started with the passion for, being a woman in the space that's like trying to empower other women. When I first doxed myself, I had a lot of people come at me for, even doxing myself. They would send me DMs like, show me your boobs and, stuff like that. So I started tweeting about titties a lot. And then I made my project Crypto Titties and it ended up selling out, which was really cool. And then somebody from my community was like, hey, you should donate to breast cancer. And usually, like maybe somebody would ignore that, but I thought that was a really cool idea. My friend, the year before, she actually died of breast cancer. And yeah, it's a very passionate thing for me. So I thought it would be great. And that's when I started doing the donations to the American Cancer Society for breast cancer research.
That's really refreshing. Firstly, because I thought I was the only person receiving the DMs asking for me to get my boobs out on Twitter. So it's good to hear that it's not just me.
Oh, yeah. Yep. They want to see all kinds, apparently.
It's one of the biggest things for me was I wanted to get you on because we've spoken to people who have had like 9-figure exits on businesses, guys who work for Doodles, everything like that. But a lot of it's not focused around, and again, obviously there's a massive community element to it, but it's not focused really on how we can best leverage Web3 to actually help communities. It's obviously really important that they do have a community aspect to it, but it's not about charity. And I think it's really important to make sure we continually highlight that because, again, the market right now is pretty dire, but it's nice to see that there are projects like what you guys do that still really are growing that charitable space. And I wondered how the market at the minute had affected your ability to look at doing a next level of fundraising. Is it something which you're kind of constantly aware of, or is it something which you're going to do the same level of charitable work going forward regardless of how the market sits?
The market has been very hard. We haven't had a lot of volume. I did have a secondary collection called She Survives, which is, supposed to be, 100% of the proceeds of that outside of what we paid the team is going to go to the American Cancer Society. What ended up happening is the month that we released was the first month of the bear market. And we were able to raise, over $20,000 for charity, which is cool, but not quite the goal that I had. So basically, I've been using this time to build my platform and to be a voice in the space, like I had been. And I feel like this will give me the time to not only do that and potentially, get the names of my projects out there. But I've actually been able to meet with the American Cancer Society, go to their events, get to know them personally and find out a lot about what they do in the background. And they really didn't know anything about crypto and NFTs, so I've been able to educate them in the meantime.
One thing I always thought is what kind of reaction you got from them coming from the Web3 side of things, because as we know, most people in Web2 or the normies, they very much see Web3 as like this big scam space. So I wondered, did they have extra steps of due diligence taking money from Web3 projects? Did you find any barriers there?
It was a lot easier than I thought it would be because the giving block has created that really nice bridge. So I didn't have a lot of complication there. And then when I did start donating, they reached out to me and they told me they had not received any donations like that ever. And they were,
oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was the first thing for them. And I had lunch with one of the directors in my, state, in the state of Texas. And it was really interesting to hear that they had never had that kind of success with donations. So, regardless of anything, it's just they've always been very open-minded about it and ready to learn. And that's what I love about the organization.
I know I jumped straight in with the charity stuff because I think that's really important that we look at that, and it is again something which is nice for us because I think that there's so many people who are pretty disingenuous. It's obvious, right? There's so many people who want to be successful for the sake of being successful. They want fame for a project, they want money, whatever else. And it is really nice to see that you've been doing this for quite a while now as well. It's not something which you've just started doing yesterday. One of the things I remember most prominently seeing you for, and it was I think maybe even a year ago now, was when you first doxed. The big thing you led with was saying, look, this is me, and you encourage people almost to share who they were as well. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure there was a thread which had like hundreds of people. It wasn't just women either, it was men as well who were never doxed before, partly maybe because it was the thing to do in crypto rights to be undoxed, and partly because it probably didn't feel confident. And it was really refreshing to see such an inundation of people do that. And I just wondered if since then you've regularly had people reach out, not only because they know you do all the charity work, but because you are so open to kind of being a familiar face, someone who will talk to people. Have you had a lot of people get in the DMs and say, look, thank you so much for helping, and actually being quite vocal about how you've been really influential on what they've done in Web3?
That's crazy that you bring that post up because I didn't know how many people remembered that. And ever since then, I've kept, I try to reach out to everyone. Like all my DMs, I take time to respond to everything because I feel like it's really important if you build a platform like this. The people that are rewarding me for doing this every day, I want to, at least take the time to say thank you, or, what do you need? A lot of the times some people have reached out to me with how, worried they are for the future, or just with, in that thread, I had somebody reach out to me about how scared they were to dox themselves because they didn't feel confident in themselves. So I feel like Twitter has given me the opportunity to be like a weird kind of counselor and also just a friend to people that don't have them.
It's an interesting part of Web3, the whole kind of digital identity thing, because people love it, they embrace it, the PFP culture is huge. But at the same time, we go to like a lot of in real life events. For example, I just went to NFT London. And as part of that, I went to there was a Doodles meetup, and there was about 10 of us that went to it. And I got there and I realized, oh shit, I actually don't know what any of these people look like. So I arrived at this place. This place is rammed full. I sort of walk up to the bar and I'm kind of looking around, sort of thinking, okay, they don't look like NFT people. That guy's wearing a suit. No, that's not an NFT person. That's not right. Eventually I worked my way upstairs and found a load of people in hoodies and things. I was like, right, these are the NFT guys. Jumped in and it was the Doodles crew. But then you're talking to people and it's only like 20 minutes into the conversation, you realize it's like, oh, you're Monkey Hat 729. I've been chatting to you for ages, but you just don't know that because everyone's only known as their digital identity. And it's like we need to get name tags with your PFP, your handle, and then your actual real name. So it's good that there's this balance of some people that are actually being doxed and you can actually get to know them as human beings.
I agree. And it's cool to go to these events and instead of having to even wear a name tag, people just instantly recognize me. It's kind of weird to go somewhere and people already know who you are.
Obviously, I think one of the things you do really well is balance it, because obviously titties are a big part of your brand, but it's not in a not suitable for work way, right? You use it and you completely understand that leverage will interest people. That's what it does, and it gets people to be engaged in your brand. And your engagement on Twitter is fantastic, and it's not just people who are only engaging in those posts. It's consistently people who are interested in you, interested in what you're doing and how you're building out your projects, and just generally what you want to say. How have you found your engagement on Twitter, and not just from a kind of engagement farming point of view, but literally just in general, growing a brand out? Have you found it a lot easier being doxxed, or when you've used profile pictures before?
Honestly, it's been a lot easier using my picture. I've tried with other pictures, but I feel like it makes me more relatable. Like, a lot of people love to see like a personality, and I feel like that's given me a lot of opportunity to not just post like silly memes and stuff about titties, but it's like I can actually speak in my voice and share my story, and people actually like gravitate to it.
That's big for me as well. I think that we've got a lot of people in the space who are very vocal, who have a lot to say, which is completely fine, but they don't ever give any sort of genuine approach to this is me, this is what I am. And I think that's one of the things that's really refreshing about how you operate. But I wondered if, and obviously it goes without saying, I'm sure you've had an inundation as well as the good DMs of really bad stuff and things that are frustrating to deal with. Has it ever been quite impactful on your personal life outside of Web3?
Actually, yeah, I had a period of time, I think it was a couple of months ago, that I started getting a lot of really inappropriate DMs. And, you know, sometimes I make jokes, but some people just send me really, you know, terrible things. There was somebody, I'm not going to name them, but there was somebody on Twitter that was, you know, sending they basically posted a picture of me and were making fun of me, and had their followers come after me and send me DMs and basically harass me. And, you know, my husband had to deal with the aftermath of that. You know, I was kind of a mess. I was crying. I was, you know, I mean, it was a lot for me to deal with. And, you know, that really affected me personally because I have bipolar disorder. So my lows are very low. So, you know, it's been hard to kind of separate that because sometimes Twitter blends into reality. But so far, you know, after that particular event, I'm starting to try to block everybody, block everybody that's mean to me, and try to only focus on the positive. It's still difficult, but, you know, it's better to focus on all the people that like you versus the people that hate you.
I think it must be really hard as well because you've put yourself in a position where obviously you are leveraging who you are and what you look like to benefit not just yourself, but more importantly, charity, and actually help a lot of people. Like, the biggest thing as well for me is we reach out to quite a few people over the course of however long we want to get them on the podcast, right? It's really important that we get a high quality level of guests. We want to talk to people like yourself who I feel would be really valuable for our content. A lot of people are either take a long time to reply or don't really reply. And I've always found you incredibly responsive, which is really refreshing because it's very easy for you with the account size you have and the people you know to be able to just be quite dismissive of it. And so even though you have had those problems, it must be pretty difficult to have put your DMs back on and be open to kind of people being able to reach out.
Yeah, you know, I did close my DMs for over a month after that incident that I was referring to. So I realized now that I was robbing myself of the people that I truly care about and that truly care about me.
And growing on that a little bit more, obviously, one of the biggest things is obviously we are men, obviously, so we don't have the same sort of experiences, right, as women in a sector where it is largely dominated by men. And I wondered if you think that there's a lot that needs to be done, or do you think that actually there's a lot of benefits and championing of women already within the Web3 space?
You know, I mean, there is a lot that needs to be done. You know, there's a lot of people in the old school, you know, crypto Twitter world that are very, you know, negative towards women, especially women that are doxxed, because they're like, if you really truly want to be treated with respect, you should have just remained anonymous, which, you know, I can understand where they're coming from a little bit, but you know, like the opinion that they have is that women's only assets are their physical appearance, which I have used in the past to, you know, like spread, I guess, you know, get some sort of, you know, following and things like that. But, you know, one of the reasons why I did that, because when I first started and when I first doxed myself, I didn't even really know any women on there, none that were doxed at least. And I felt like, you know, women should be able to do that kind of style. Like, men have things that they're good at, women have things that they're good at as well. And one of those things is creating those kind of personalities, engaging with other women. So some of the things that I'm posting are not for men to be like, oh, look at her. They're for women. They're for women to feel like they can truly be themselves. I don't wear makeup in my pictures just for that reason too. So, it's just I feel like despite, with the crypto Twitter problems that I've had, I feel like a lot of the times this space has given me more power and more empowerment really than I've ever had in my entire career, even in Web 2.
It's so important for the space for us to break down these barriers. We talk about Web3 being permissionless and not based on where you live, your creed, your color, your sexuality, your gender shouldn't come into it. It's meant to be kind of open for all. And until we can have these kind of conversations about it, work through the problem areas that we have, the space is just never going to mature to the point of where of what it's already built as. So it's great to have people like yourself in the space that are championing that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice that more women are coming out and more men in support of women are coming out.
Betty, for me, is probably one of the most iconic founders. Forget about anything that she is or isn't. She is incredible, right? Like, even the way she's just taken hold of the whole OpenSea problem recently and just gone, I don't give a fuck, I'm going to deal with this. And I think one of the most prominent things she's always talked about, and this is why I was very careful the way we worded a lot of the questions earlier. It shouldn't be about the fact that you're a woman, right? It shouldn't make a difference. Mm-hmm. It's relevant to you in the sense that your project is championing titties and making them into something which could benefit breast cancer and raise money in that sense. So that's why I think it's okay to bring it up. But one of the biggest things she's always talked about throughout anything I've ever seen her do is about how it's relevant that she's a woman. It's not about being a female founder in Web3. She's a founder in Web3. It doesn't matter. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I hope to see going forwards from just anyone in general, right? That we can get to a position where it doesn't matter about who you are, what you do. And that's why I kind of wanted to circle back to the charity side of it. And I wondered if you think that there was a big thing, should projects be kind of building in the charity side? Should they be looking to have a bigger focus on that? Because they raise so much money, right? Do you think it should be something they put more onus on, or?
I would say from my experience, a lot of people, once you start involving charity, it actually chases people away, weirdly enough. There was, with Andrew Wang's project that he had, a lot of people came together for that, and that was really cool. But that was a lot of influencers that came together for that. When you have projects like that are saying they're dedicated to the charity aspect, you have people being skeptical. You have people saying you're just trying to scam the ecosystem and trying to benefit off that. And that's not at all the case with a lot of people. But my recommendation for people that are wanting to do more charitable stuff is do it in the background. And then when, people look into what you're doing, they can see that you've been doing this and that you have a track record, so that they don't feel like you're marketing a charity project versus a project that donates to charity.
I guess it became a little bit almost like a dirty word at one point, because it was like the classic thing to have in any roadmap of any project, where they'd be like, if we hit this many sales on our mint, this is the point where we're then going to give $10,000 to, and often they wouldn't even specify. They'd be like, we're going to give it to charity. And then I think that's what kind of created this like negative kind of feelings towards it within the space. And I'm glad that we can kind of, I know what you're saying in terms of it kind of turns people off, but I feel like we've had a lot more projects that come out with like more of a soul focus of their project as well, where it's actually intrinsically built into their project rather than it just being that kind of bolt-on addition that it was used for to kind of build some kind of credence to their project.
Yeah, I mean, I will say with my second project, She Survives, that was the fatal flaw that I had, is that I tried to build a more utility-based NFT. Like, originally my roadmap, like, I created that project for the American Cancer Society. We had already, established a partnership. We had already talked about this, and it was for them to create utility. And originally 40% was going to, them, and then the rest was going to be used for other utilities. And I got a lot of criticism for that because I was marketing it as a charity NFT. And I took that feedback and I said to myself, well, I mean, maybe since this was a charity NFT and not 100% of this is going to charity, I'm going to change that. I'm going to delete the roadmap. And then now moving forward, if I ever do something like this again, I'm just going to go about it completely different so that people don't have that stigma going in.
It's big for me as well because, like, and this is where I wanted to go to next, is talking about the current space compared to how it was when you first jumped in. And obviously we're getting there with the charity side of it. I think now there are definitely opportunities for people to make a really good project that does focus on charity primarily, because we're in a position where people are not making as much money, right? But back in the day, it's a year ago, at this point in the NFT market, people were making so much money on projects. When you did see charity focused things that perhaps weren't going to make you as much money, I think the NFT sentiment was often to kind of just okay, someone else will do that, right? And so it was incredible to see how well you did with those projects, in spite of the fact that so many people would have faded them because it wasn't going to give them utility, which we haven't even seen anyway. And kind of coming on from there, looking at how the NFT space is now, I know, how long have you been in the NFT space? Over a year now, isn't it? It's well over a year, right, since you jumped in?
Yeah, so I had my first NFT back in June, and then I started going more NFT in July. That, like, I went full NFT, and I kind of abandoned crypto, which, you know, it is what it is, but I like the community better with NFTs than I did with crypto.
What do you think that's about? Why do you think it was more appealing to you to actually focus on NFTs?
You know, it felt like it felt like there's a lot of assholes in crypto, like a lot of you know, gentlemen's club type of stuff, you know, like all the people that had ever been rude to me have been with crypto. And I'm not saying all crypto men are like that, but a lot of them, the old school kind of dudes can be like that. With NFTs, I felt like there was a more equal ground. I felt like even as a woman, people saw me as an equal in like, you know, you were mentioning, you know, like, instead of just being a female founder, I could be just a founder, and I didn't have to differentiate myself. I could be just like the guys in NFTs and be respected. And most of the time I am, which is really great and beautiful about crypto. NFTs.
How have you found the space? So over a year on, we basically jumped in at the same time, because I was June and then probably got in July kind of time last year as well. How have you found the space over a year on? So when you first got in and you first had those excitements, the conceptions, made some good deals, got some good trades, whatever, how are you feeling about it?
There was a lot of lessons that I learned, really hard lessons. Like, I lost over 6 figures in the bull market, or I'm sorry, in the transition from the bull market to the bear, which I think a lot of people did. And it taught me a lot about taking profits and not listening to, you know, everybody, you know, preaches diamond hands. Everybody has to have diamond hands, and taking profit is like a cardinal sin. You know, it's like such a bad thing, and people identify as their PFPs, and, you know, that it's such a bad stigma to have, because, you know, I've learned that in the bull market, you really need to manage your risk for the bear market. Like, you have to spend the bull market preparing for the bear market, and then spend the bear market preparing for the bull. So you just got to, you know, work the opposite ways. And a lot of people don't teach you that. So, I mean, this is my very first bear market. So, you know, it's kind of shocking, but like seeing that not only the transition from like the actual value of my tokens, but also seeing the creators in the space, like creators that I have a lot of respect for, you know, like K Money or Thread Guy, or, you know, Shill and Villain that was on your space. Like, all these creators are coming and showing me that there is just more to this than NFTs. Like, I felt like the meta had died of entertainment, and I feel like it is finally back.
I'd agree with you on that. It's nice to hear as well, because obviously we've done an animated podcast for all this fucking time. So it's good to hear that people care about entertainment again. And that's what was great about speaking to Alex as well, because obviously he's on the pod a few weeks ago, like you mentioned. He's got a really good character that he plays, and I know that a percentage of it is 100% what he's like, but if you listen to him on the podcast compared to his spaces, he has brought such an entertainment factor to the space. I know you're a big fan of Sappy Seals and Wab and everything like that as well, but this was exactly his point too, which was that these characters, these animators or creators, these animated characters that we have, like Alex, are really important because they're entertaining. And K-Money's skits, 30 seconds, you see them on your timeline, you should look at how many people will engage with that. It's always loads of likes, loads of retweets, loads of comments, because they're fun, they're easy to watch, they're relaxing, they take you away from the stress of everything I bought has gone down like massively. Have you thought about making content regularly? Because I know you do a lot of Twitter Spaces. Is it something you want to do? And I know you post to TikTok sometimes, things like that. Do you see that as being somewhere you'd want to go to at some point?
Absolutely. I have been kind of practicing to do more video entertainment. I've been releasing more videos. Originally, I had I'm very shy by normal nature, but this space has brought me out of my shell so much. I feel like I'm testing the waters, and I feel like I'm finally motivated to start making regular content. So I'm going to be focusing on, doing funny skits like K Money, and also trying to do educational things like with other companies. So, let's say another company wants to, use me for finding educational content. I can kind of break down, why they're good or why they're bad or things like that. I want to be able to bring that kind of value, instead of just the titties, instead of just the memes, instead of all that. I want to be able to do, I want to be duplicitous. I want to have both angles covered.
Do you think it's quite difficult for someone to actually start making content? Obviously, you've built an incredible platform, and I think you'd be well stead, certainly better than most, to be able to start putting out content. Is it something which you would encourage anyone to do, or do you think you need a certain skill set to be able to start making content?
I honestly think anybody could do it. I think some people maybe are built for it better, but if you keep doing something, the repetition will give you the motivation that you need. I started out as somebody that was, ironically enough, very prudish and very shy, and I didn't speak my mind, and I was kind of like a plain Jane. I didn't have the kind of voice that I have now. And the more practice, the more interaction, I feel like I built myself to be where I'm at now, where people actually look to me in the space for advice.
Because we've got this massive push from Elon and Twitter and everything like that to make more content, right? So we've got this creator fund supposedly coming. Shamefully, I've just had to pay the $8 for Twitter Blue because I'm aware that if I don't have it...
talk about Twitter Blue.
Jimmy can't get it because it's not on iOS. But I'm aware that if I don't do it, right, then I'm not going to get my content pushed, which is, as a content creator, is really important. What would be your biggest advice from someone who has grown an account very quickly and kept it consistently engaged without the need for buying bots or whatever else? What would be your biggest piece of advice for someone who is looking to grow their brand in Web3?
Don't be afraid to play with the big boys. That's a lot of people think that people are too important for them. I started interacting with bigger influencers and bigger people in the space early on just because I felt like, if they can do this, I can. Have the confidence. If you don't have confidence in what you're doing, then you're not going to succeed. If you don't truly at your core be yourself, then you're going to fail overall. So be yourself, stay true to your own content, be confident, and put yourself out there. That's as simple as that. It's very easy once you start to get in a flow of things.
I like that. I think it's been one of the biggest things for me to look for as well. And it's one of the questions I most enjoy asking people who have built an audience on Twitter. Obviously, you do quite a lot of Twitter Spaces as well. How important do you think they are to building your brand on the platform?
I think that they're the most important part of building your platform. I may not have thought that before, if you had asked me last year, but I feel like with all of the new creators, that brings so many active eyes, not only to projects, but to creators. I'm able to connect with my audience. Not only do they see my tweets, which can only showcase a little bit of my personality, people can actually hear my voice, my opinions, know I am who I say I am, and know that I have something valuable to say instead of just seeing, a meme and saying, oh, that's funny, but does she actually know what she's talking about?
They're really important, and I think it's something I've tried to put a bigger push on recently, because you just see people have the opportunity to do this, right? They have a long-form experience with other people in one live setting. The podcasts are amazing, and for us, obviously, the angle is we animate them, so it's very different from a generic podcast, but Twitter Spaces give you that live audience who are literally there, they're engaged, they're excited, and I think that they're definitely going to be pushed more by Elon. He was on one today with 100k people in it. Project-wise, though, we've seen that you have really liked the seals. It's got to be talked about. So you animated as a seal right now, which is going to look really cool. Obviously, we can't see it yet, but it's going to look awesome. Talk to me about why you love the seals so much.
Originally, actually, it took me forever to buy a seal. I'd been harassed for months to buy a seal. Everybody buy a seal.
Me too.
Yeah. I honestly faded them for a long time. And then eventually Wob he created a tweet and said, you're not immune to our propaganda. And I didn't realize this, but he was the founder and he was reaching out to me. And I was like, you know what? That's really cool. Like, even though it's kind of weird, like a weird thing to do,
Yeah.
like they're so cute. I just loved it. So I bought a seal. And the moment that I bought a seal, Wob is like talking to me and he's, starting conversations with me, him and Camel and some of the team members. And the Sappy sisters adopted me. They're just like a fun little community from the Sappy Seals. And I started like to really connect with that community. It's not just people that were after money. Like the Sappy Seals is like a community of people that just like to have fun. And Wob, in my darkest moments, a couple of months ago, he was one of the ones DMing me and he gave me his phone number and texting me, "Are you okay? Can I help you? What can I help you with today?" And, I don't think that I could ever sell my seals after he helped me like that. And I have such a passion for the community that, I feel like I identify more with my seal than with any other NFTs that I've ever had.
He's one of the best founders I think we've had on ever, because there's a clear vision for it with the project, so that's great. He definitely wants to do something with the brand. That's cool. Fine, park that. But it's the way that he talks so genuinely. And you can tell when someone's bullshitting, right? If you listen to enough Web3 NFT guys, you can tell when they're bullshitting because they know what they need to say. With Wab, I feel like it's really a little bit different, right? And there's actually this genuine desire to focus on his community, but from a point of view that's really easy. Just replying, little things he does. And I mentioned this when we chatted to him. He will follow anyone who sees a seal. He will reply when he gets tagged. Him and Cam will like anything they get tagged in, but not just like it and dismiss it or have some guy who just runs the socials do it. They will do it all personally. And it's weird that something as simple as just being compassionate to the people that are in your project has helped him so much. Do you think it's something which a lot of people in Web3 have just neglected almost? Like, again, I love Doodles, I absolutely do, and they've been amazing with us, but obviously there's been a lot of controversy about whether they use social media enough, whether they should be tweeting more and that kind of stuff. Do you think it's important for founders to engage with their communities consistently?
I 100% believe that. As a founder myself, I'm not like I only have 250 in my collection, so I don't have very many community members, but I always engage 100%. I always follow my community members and other founders. I've seen some founders just leave their community by the wayside. So if you don't care about your community, why the hell should they care about you? That should be your top priority, is to engage with your community. You see people like Wob, you see people like Frank, you see, all these founders that are doing all these great things with their community. So I think that, in order to be successful, you have to know who your audience is and who is going to actually care about you in the end of the day when nobody has any money left.
From your experience and kind of NFTs that you've bought into, what have kind of been obviously seals have been up there for you. Are there any other projects that have stood out for you along the way?
One of my top projects has always been, Bored Ape. I've always loved Bored Ape. I unfortunately could not afford a doodle, but that was one of the projects that I really liked. I just love the art. Dead Fellas. I love Dead Fellas. Big fan. Just love Betty. She is one of the most inspiring women in Web3. There's Jenkins, the valet, obviously Thread Guy, he's been a great creator in the space and the project in itself. He's been the director of Vibes. So he's one of the reasons why I've always, gelled with the project. I feel like I'm forgetting. I feel like every time I get asked these questions, there's so many good projects, but those are some of my first major things in the space that I really connected with. And some other ones that I have not quite invested in, that I want to at some point is The Plague, which is kind of like a, partner of Sappy Seals and Gaming Ape, the Gaming Ape Club. I actually know the founder as well, and a very nice person. And that kind of goes a long way with me. Like any founders that are super nice, super active with their community, that's who I'm bullish on the most.
Nice, nice. Well, this nicely leads us into we've got like these 5 questions that we ask every guest that come on. So, from your NFT kind of experience that you've had so far, what would you say has been your worst ever trade?
Oh man. All right. So my
It
very
doesn't have to be financial. It could be emotional, financial, or just the worst trade.
well, okay, so a bit of both would be I hate saying this, but I mean creature worlds, like that was such a disappointment to me. Like I hate saying that because I really did like the art, but I sold my on-chain monkeys at like 1 ETH, which I love the on-chain monkeys, but that was my first good trade in the space. So I said, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm going to buy a creature because Shaq just bought one and that's going to be a great investment. And I bought one at 3 ETH when ETH was at 3,000 or something dollars. And
Yeah.
it just, basically just went very low, and I ended up selling it at a loss after over a year of holding it. And I just, that's the problem with, if you're not involved with your community, which I didn't even know, I mean, what the founder was doing. Honestly, I don't like talking bad about anybody, but honestly, like the activities that were going on, it's like nobody cared about the project anymore at all. So that was really disappointing. So emotionally and financially, that was my worst trade.
Yeah, it's down at 0.2 at the moment. So yeah, that's come down quite a lot.
Yeah.
All right, how about your best ever trade or your favorite trade?
I would say like my very first trade, which gave me a lot of excitement. Like I was mentioning, the on-chain monkeys. That was my very first
Yeah.
trade that I ever had success in. I minted 3 of them, sold them each at an ETH, and I was over the
Nice.
moon. I was so happy. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm such an awesome trader. I finally did
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was a free mint, wasn't it?
it.
I'm pretty sure there was a free mint,
It
wasn't it?
was a
Yeah.
free mint, so I was so happy, and I
100%
spent
profit.
it all on a
Love it.
creature.
I think all the profits I've ever taken off any NFT or crypto, I've then used to spend on something else within the space, which, as we well know, most of them have tanked pretty hard. So
Thanks for the reminder, Jimmy. Thank you.
every profit is just an opportunity for more loss. So, how about in terms of minting? Have you ever revealed anything particular, like a one of one? What's your rarest or best reveal been?
What's funny is I have never ever revealed a one of one. Like I've revealed, so the rarest thing that I have, like a super throwback. If anyone remembers the Bungie project, um,
Yeah, it rings a bell.
yeah. So I had a rare Bungie that I sold for like 1.5 ETH, and then I also got airdropped a statue or sculpture from the artist that I sold for $3,000, like
Oh,
one
nice.
ETH. So I did really
Oh,
well with
wow.
the Bungie project. I mean, who knows where it's at now, but that was the rarest I've ever had.
I'm looking. It's now floor price is 0.05.
Oh,
You did
So
good.
you
Great
did a good
exit.
job.
woo! I
Yeah.
got lucky.
I think selling, it's just selling is the key thing with a lot of these NFT projects. If it's not something you want to hold on for because you love the art or and people talk about utility so much. If you're not using the utility, you don't need to hold it. If it's like, but it's got this great utility that I've never used. Like if you're using the utility or you love the art or it's part of your brand or you're really engaged with the community. If not, just sell it and take the profit. All right.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't understand the concept of diamond hands ever. Like
Yeah.
once the bull market like did what it did, and I pretty much lost thousands of dollars. I was like, you know what? I don't care what anyone says. I'm gonna sell when I want to sell because I have good instincts and I know when to sell and when to buy.
Nice, nice. Okay, so if you could pick one project and send it to 100 ETH floor, so you basically inflate it to 100 ETH, which project would you choose? And probably you can't say your own projects.
Yeah,
Apart from you say anything else.
I wish, but it would definitely be Sappy Sales 100%.
Yeah.
Like I feel like all the work that they've done, they actually have a lot of utility. They have cute art, and they regularly, like, Wob engages with a lot of different people, like not just, anybody, like Crypto Garga, like Gordon from Bored Ape Yacht Club interacted with Camel. I'm sure you saw that, where he said, yeah,
it's everyone's header, yeah.
which is hilarious. So I mean, they're always in memes, like Alan Carroll, or NFT Hawks. Like, so many different Sappy Sale members have done like a lot of different memes that have gone viral, or they've communicated with some of the biggest people, like Kobe yesterday on Thread Guy Space. He even said Sappy. Like, this project to me is so bullish. Like, I would be really surprised if it didn't go, like if it wasn't at like something crazy, like over 20 ETH, like next bull run.
Yeah, well, they've had a good day today. So we're recording this on the, what's the date today? The 9th of November. And they've done like 88 sales today. They've done 55 of ETH. That was from Kobe's.
Because he mentioned them on the space. And the thing is, we asked these 5 questions to everyone we have on. I've never heard an answer more than Sappy Sales to which project would you want to send to.
I was going to say Shilin did, Alex did it on our last episode. He said it as well,
Doodles, and then he went, well, maybe actually Sappy Sales every time. Yeah. So I think Wab and Camel are clued in something right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, opposite question. This is our controversial one. If you could take one project and delete it, which project would it be?
Oh, man, I hate that. I hate that.
So no one's had any pitchforks after them for answering this question yet.
You know what?
We're waiting for it.
I probably will, but this is because the community has been very mean to me. But the Kimpai pandas, they're so mean, and I have had a lot of problems with the founder personally. I'm not going to discuss that, but I would love to send them to zero.
They look, to be honest, they look like they're already on their way.
Yeah.
Brutal. We like it. Honest as well. But some people have tried to kind of skirt around it. They go, well, maybe I'll just delete a rug, or they try to come up with a political answer. You just straight.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck these pandas, man. I'm taking them out.
They're the ones that were bullying me. All of them. That's the community that was so mean and sexist to me. So, like the founder was, and some other members, and I just didn't appreciate it. So, like they make no bones about making their feelings about me public. So I don't mind saying it here.
Yeah. No,
Lovely.
Too right. I like it. A real answer. We like that.
100%.
As Kelsey just said, people skirt around it. They'll go, oh, just, any rug project. We'll delete a rug project. No, we don't want that. We want controversy. That's what we want. Yeah.
Honesty.
Yeah, exactly.
We've never had any problems with anyone because we just sit at an animated podcast.
Too bloody British and polite we are.
But we love that question because it gives a bit of feeling. But yeah, it's honestly been an absolute pleasure. We'd love to have you back on at some point as well to kind of regularly discuss stuff, obviously, because we don't know when this episode is going to come out. We couldn't talk about things that were relevant to the space too much because it would be outdated by the time it kind of came onto it. But it's honestly been an absolute pleasure. We're going to drop all your social links below. I'm pretty sure everyone will know who you are anyway. But just before we do go, final question we always end on is, how would you sum up Ashley and your brand in Web3 in a minute or less?
Oh, well, I'm somebody that cares about titties, not just because they're funny, but because I care about the health of women, and I care about the health of people that have been affected by breast cancer. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I share pretty much way too much information about myself, and I really care about everyone. I want everyone to win, except for the project that I mentioned,
the pandas.
But even then, I have pity for some people that are so mean to other people because there's something there inside of them that needs love or whatever it is. So I don't know. I can't bring myself to hate anyone. So that's, I guess, just a little tidbit about me.
I like it.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Ashley. As always, we've been the Right Click Say podcast. I've been your host, Calcio, joined by Jimmy T. We'll be back next week, I think, with more fun and exciting content. Have a lovely afternoon.
Thank you.